keep me, just make sure I know what to do so I don't screw up. So, now he, beg pardon?
So after the Adonai Sivit Talk, then it goes right into it's laid out there for you.
Okay, and he also said he was going to print out the things he wanted me to read. He had some special readings. So Elul, well, this one should go with Mari Varavim, I guess. And then, okay, and where does this one go? Look at this. Elul, reading before Michamocha. Okay. Got one, Howard. Just get 7:30. All right. Whoops. Where is my kippah? Wait a minute. I had it in my. No, that's my mask. Yeah, I guess I do. Hey, Howard, can you grab one for me? Can you grab one for me? I thought I had one in my pocket. I must have dropped it. Walking in. Good evening and Shabbat Shalom. And Shana Tova to all of you. Shana Tova. I'm just looking at the outline that Rabbi Berger prepared. Allison, would you light the Shabbat candles? I believe that he doesn't have anybody. Okay, great. Let's start with that and then go into the lighting of the candles. Beautiful. That'll do just fine, thank you. Good choice. And we continue with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. And I believe Allison will lead us.
And
I'm pleased to see that Rabbi Berger has continued our tradition of 35 years of having special readings during the month of Elul inserted into our service. And I'm going to begin by reading one that he selected, a very lovely one. It's entitled, An Island in the Year, Elul. Before we slip too quickly into the season of the soul, let there be a Sabbath of Sabbaths for the heart. Before the music of creation's majesty, let there be a silent praise of existence. Before the feast of sanctified words, let there be a poetry of solitude. Before we enter the palaces of prayer, let us find within ourselves a place of calm. Before we revel in the wondrous and sublime, let there be an honest inward gaze. Before the rites and ceremonies of awe, let there be quieter days, an island of attentiveness. And now we continue as our wonderful cantorial soloist leads us again in singing Shalom Aleichem, page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShabbat, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachem
Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Elyon, Mi-Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And on page 26, we find the Chetzi Kaddish, and Allison will lead us again, and we'll respond. It's actually a responsive chant, and we'll respond at the appropriate spots.
It's the high holiday melody as well.
Oh, you're using the High Holy Day melody. How nice. So we probably won't respond. Go ahead.
Yitkadash, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Amen. Mi'amad yivrak yutei, v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayichon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayed kol Beit Yisrael. B'agalav izman kariv, imeru, Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam Ulamei Olam.
Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, V'yibroman, V'yitnasei, V'yitadar, V'yitalel, V'yitalal, Shemei Tekudesha, B'richu,
How beautiful. Please rise.
Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Et Adonai, Baruch Adonai, Amivorach, Leolam Vaed.
Beautiful. Please remain standing. And I don't see that on the page that the sheet that was prepared for me indicates that it appears. So since I can't see the screen very well, why don't you all read that aloud and I'll listen. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. It's right here. I'll read it with you. Okay. Holy is twilight, the realm of in-between. And so our sages taught, pray in the moments when light and darkness touch. We are all twilight people, beyond categories and labels. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, widen our vision. Let it illumine our way to the God who transcends all boundaries and definitions. Blessed are you, God of will, God of all, who brings on the twilight. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Another of the special readings that Rabbi Berger selected for the month of Elul, which of course ends in just a couple days. We continue now on page 33. And again, let's read together. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives us, and more to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. And now, as we anticipate joining together in Shema Yisrael, Allison will lead us and open up our eyes.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one.
Please be seated. And we continue as Allison chants the V'ahavta, using the High Holy Day Nusach? No.
The regular one.
The regular. Okay. Let's follow her as she leads us. Let's sing this prayer together. Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom levavecha
Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lecha v'derech uv'shofecha
uv'kumecha
uv'kshartam le'ol t'ledecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha uv'tavtam hamizuzot beitecha uv'visharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את מצוותיי והייתם קדושים ללכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני
And we continue now with another reading for Elul, and then we will join Allison in the Michamocha. This is a special reading for Elul as well. Eternal, watch over my small domain of light and shadow. Those few people who share my love and all others upon this earth that sometimes shakes with thunder and reverberates with lightning. Help us to live with fear and conquer rage. Heal the hate that makes us kill and covers the ground with his Red Sea that only you can part. So may we all walk through the wilderness to your realm of peace, where all men and women are one, and sing your blessed name. Page 40. You know, Allison, I've told you before that in the 4 years that we were together on the Bima, I worshiped more than I had in the previous 27 or 28 years on this Bima. And I'm so grateful to you for enabling me to have that experience, and you're helping me have it again tonight, and I thank you. Thank you so much. You're so wonderful. Allison's about to chant the prayer that begins, it's on page 42 with the words, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom. Essentially, the prayer means, bless us, O God, help us to experience a good night's sleep, a restful night's sleep, and then restore our souls to us fully in the morning. And as we live our lives, for many of us, there are a number of things that often prevent us from having a restful night's sleep. We worry about our own well-being, our loved ones' well-being, our friends' well-being. We worry about illness. We worry about accident. At this current juncture in our nation's history, in addition to all of those worries, I often find myself awake at night worrying about whether our nation's democracy will survive, and worrying about whether all the things that have made America a good place for Jews and other minorities and immigrant groups to live will disappear. And so when I pray that prayer, as I listen to Allison, at this time, at this juncture in our nation's history, it will have even more meaning for me than it has had all the years that I've been saying or listening to that prayer, although it's always been one of the most meaningful in the liturgy.
Hashkivenu Adonai
Thank you, Allison. Page 43, I don't know if it's probably not up on your screens, but let me read it for you. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom, aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Amen. Amen. And we turn now to page 46, and we'll continue in close succession from 46 through 50. As you rise for the tefillah. The word tefillah means prayer in Hebrew, and it's the main prayer of the service. And Allison, if the High Holy Day Nusach allows me to interrupt with after the avot.
Let's do it the traditional way, without the high holidays.
Okay, although you do it so beautifully, but
It would be great the traditional way.
okay, all righty, thank you, because I'd like to read the English.
Absolutely.
So let's give Allison our attention.
Adonai, sifatai tiftachu fi tahilatecha.
Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'chonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, L'ma'an Shemo le'yava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah.
Some perished by fire, some by water. Some crossed the sea or watered the desert. Some starved all week to make a Shabbat feast. Some were left childless until old age. Some lifted their chins beneath a father's knife. Those who came before us gave everything so that we, generations later, could glorify you, O God. And despite the dangers, with your protection, some did survive and even flourished. Some reaped in joy, were spared the knife, were granted children. We are their inheritors, O God, and we know how rare is our good fortune to be born to such hard-won treasures. A great responsibility is ours, and yours, O God, as well. For if you do not sustain us, as you did Abraham and Sarah, Rebekah and Isaac, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, then who will sing your praises? Who will lift their chins, as we do now, to sanctify your name? Baruch atah Adonai, Poked Sarah, U'Magen Avraham.
Tal gibor le'lam Adonai, Michayei hakol, Atarav lahoshia, Morid hatal, Michachel chayim v'chesed,
Michayei hakol berachamim rabim,
Somech
noflim
noflim
v'rofech
v'rofech
oholim,
oholim,
umatir asurim, umekayem emunato Lishenei afar.
Michamocha ba'al gevurot.
Umido melach. Melech memit. Mechayeh. Umatzmiach Yeshua.
ונאמנת לך חיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
And on page 52, we say together, Ata Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom, Yahalalucha Selah, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You are holy, O God, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. And I believe this is a good time to sit down. We continue now with silent prayer. Before we do, though, let me just read something on 55 to perhaps get us thinking of some things for which we might wish to pray. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. We pray silently now. And at this time, we ask you to rise again as we join Allison in chanting the Misha Beirach prayer for healing, which is on page 253. Before we do, I'd like to share the names of several members of the congregation and their loved ones who are in need of God's help and healing at this time. Yonatan Ruvain Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Norma Bloomberg Van Ness, although I think I see Norma. Hopefully you're feeling somewhat better, Norma. Babs Brown, Manuel Cruz, Evelyn Edelman, Rob Edelman, Augusto Ferreira, Harry Fleisch, John Friedman, Denise Freifeld, although I see Denise too, and I hope you're doing better. Mitchell Freifeld, Leah Gottlieb, Norman Kelton, Arnold Miller, Melissa Miller, William Miller, Priscilla Nathanson, Michael Ranzino, Rabbi Avram Reifer, Kelly Diana Ryan, Miriam Richmond, Stephanie Ross, Dennis Schulman, Jeff Stark, Jen Swan, Sharon Worster, Sophia Young, and then there are several other people for whom we're asking God's blessing, but who do not want their names read aloud. And so let's wait a moment. And then I'd like to, now that we've had a moment, for me to at least have silently said their names, I'd like to see if there's anyone else who many of you would like to add to our list tonight. Lynn? Thank you. Ma'am? Joyce? Okay. Manny? Okay. Sidel? Okay. Yes? Okay. Denise? I hope you're doing okay, Sidel. I hope. Anyone else? Oh, in the back. Is that Lillian? Yeah, Lillian. Hi, Lillian. Oh, yeah? Uh-huh. Okay. Anybody? Michael? Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
And my father, George Stark, as well.
Yes, yes. I'm sorry I didn't look your way, Allison. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Okay. I think we're ready. Okay.
May the source of strength
Please be seated. Last Sunday afternoon, I attended via YouTube a funeral. It was the funeral of a schoolmate of mine, a fellow a few years older than me, just a few, Rabbi Jimmy Kessler of Corpus Christi, Texas, who sadly died of metastatic prostate cancer. In all my years in the rabbinate and my years of trying to provide pastoral care for people, I've only seen a few people die of prostate cancer. They usually die of something else. Prostate cancer turns out to be a troublesome illness, but usually one that if it's treated is not fatal, but Jimmy's was fatal. And so there was a large funeral at the temple that Jimmy served for 32 years as rabbi. Prior to that, he had been Hillel director at the University of Texas at Austin. Reflecting upon that funeral, upon the experience I had being an attendee, even though it was only a YouTube attendee, I couldn't make it to Texas. Reflecting upon that experience, I thought of a couple of lessons that I'd like to share with you as we approach a new year. Let me begin by sharing a note that I wrote, short note, that I wrote to Jimmy's widow. Dear Mrs. Kessler and family, my name is Gary Klein. I'm a 1975 ordinee of the Cincinnati campus of Hebrew Union College, and I've been a congregational rabbi my entire adult life. I arrived at the Cincinnati campus of HUC, that's Hebrew Union College, in September 1967 as an 18-year-old entering freshman at the University of Cincinnati. This was, I believe, the same time that Jimmy arrived on campus as a beginning rabbinical student. Rabbinical students, by the way, are all graduate students, at least at Hebrew Union College. I was part of a group of about a half dozen university freshmen who were hoping to be admitted to rabbinical school upon graduation from the university. And we were allowed by HUC and by the university to live in the HUC dorm, to take Hebrew there to fulfill the university foreign language requirement, and were given the opportunity to receive university elective credit for one course taken each semester at HUC during our undergraduate years at the university. The most impactful and rewarding part of that experience for me, and I believe for my undergraduate classmates, was interacting with Jimmy and several other members of his rabbinical school class. 5 or 6 of them took us under wing. They guided us in regard to academic and personal issues such as homesickness and dating. They helped us prepare for exams. They stayed awake with us late at night, calming and reassuring us prior to our first few semesters' academic exams. They tutored us in Hebrew and in other subjects. They helped us write and edit assigned essays. They became mentors and almost big brothers to us during those first college years. In doing these things, they eased the transition for us from childhood to adulthood. Most importantly, their example of menschlichkeit, which I think about very frequently in my daily life, has inspired me to be a better human being and a better rabbi than I would have been without their example. I will always be so grateful to them. I regret that I didn't express this gratitude to Jimmy while he was alive. He surely deserved to know it. He was one of a very small group of colleagues who have changed my life in very significant ways. Please accept my sympathy. My first lesson to you that I'd like to share with you, I believe I already have, that I derived from experiencing that funeral, was that you need to let the people you appreciate know how much you appreciate them while you have the opportunity. Tell them while there is still time. There may not always be a tomorrow. There may not always be another opportunity. And as we approach a new year, I know I'm going to make doing that an important part of my activity, and I hope that each of you will do that as well. Our spouses, our parents, our children, our teachers, our friends, our co-workers, and so many others, possibly, are people who deserve to hear from us how much we appreciate them, how they've impacted our lives. Second example that I derived from the funeral, and you know, all the years that I was your rabbi here, the 33 years that I was the active rabbi, I prided myself on trying to never share 2 lessons in one sermon. But since I don't get much opportunity anymore, I have to make good use of the time. Seriously, though, I think this is another important lesson that is germane to us as we approach this year's High Holy Days. It's germane every year's High Holy Days, but especially so this year's. And the second lesson is that we follow the Talmudic teaching. We really work at following the Talmudic teaching of the sage Hillel, who said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I'm only for myself, what good am I? And if not now, when?" Although I want to focus on the first 2 aspects of what he said. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I'm only for myself, what good am I? Tell you how this lesson came to me as I was watching the funeral on YouTube. Every person in that sanctuary, and the cameras beamed all over the place, every person, and this was just last Sunday, it wasn't early in the pandemic, it was just this past Sunday, every person was wearing a mask. Now, this was a congregation of Jewish people. Our tradition teaches us to be conscious about our health. A lot of these people, I'm sure, were educated people. It was a very fancy synagogue. I'm sure that most of those people were vaccinated and boosted. Most of them were probably in very good health and didn't need to wear masks to protect themselves. But they did it for those among them who may have been immune compromised or vulnerable in some other way. They were following the teaching of Hillel. If I'm only for myself, what good am I? This was so different than so much of the conduct we see in society. I've already had people, other customers, approach me in Publix and in other stores because I wear a mask everywhere. I've had people approach me and say, "What are you wearing a mask for? You trying to hurt our governor?" The fact of the matter is, I probably don't need a mask with my 5 shots. But somebody in that store whom I might breathe on and maybe blow COVID germs on that I didn't know I was carrying could die from what I might do unknowingly without a mask. Too much of our society today reflects what's good for me is all that matters. As I said before, we see it in stores, we see it on highways. Have you noticed how much more aggressive some drivers have become than they used to be? It used to be a rare occurrence when somebody would blast by you. Now it happens all the time. And we see it from politicians, elected officials, and we see it from candidates. As Jews, we need to counter this selfishness. We need to take care of ourselves. As Hillel said, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? But we need to counter this selfishness. One way, a really important way, probably more important than ever in the history of our country, is through this next election. We need to be careful not to elect candidates and elected officials who feel that government should serve them, the elected officials, and only those who support them and who share their beliefs. And that it's okay to even humiliate and punish those who have different views. Instead, we should elect those who feel that government should serve all citizens, even those whose views differ with those of the official. In this next election, I think the choices are clear. So, in the year that is about to begin, my prayer is that we achieve the balance that Hillel advocated, the balance between self-interest and concern for ourselves, which is appropriate, and respect and appreciation for others. That's what Hillel meant, I believe, when he said, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? But if I'm only for myself, what good am I? I wish you all a Shana Tova Umituka, a good and sweet New Year. And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. We now continue with the Aleinu prayer, page 282, 282, and we invite Howard Markowitz and Mandy Gordon to come to the Bima to open the ark for the Aleinu. Please remain standing. The mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. 294. So let's turn to that now. Tonight, we observe the yahrzeit of these members of our congregation and their loved ones. Alan Allman, Sherry Bierhoff, Gussie Bohm, Florence Daines, Henry Dreyfus, Sophie Elias, Anna Finkel, Jack Fishman, Gussie Gendler, Arlene Gladstone, Ida Fine Halpern, Lillian Harris, Leonard Kent, Betty Keshen, Michael Kulich, Michael J. Lertzman, Irma Lieberman, Samuel Leibowitz, Sarah Lipton, Lori Lubotsky, David Manis, Seymour Mines, Melba Natis, David Nemtso, Sidney Pakoff, Sarah Perlman, Gertrude Roller, Samuel Rosen, Francis Shapiro, Selwyn Skolnick, Marcia Silver, Diane Simon, Aaron Skalka, Sarah Slavny, Gerald Slavny, Donald Stein, Sol Stone, Mary R. Walsh, Frank Weiner, Rhoda Wexler, and Mary Zeisler. We also recall the memory of two people who passed away recently. John Solar, and it says here, friend of Ed Marles. I think it may be friend of Ed Marks, because I don't know an Ed Marles in the congregation. I'm assuming it's Ed Marks' friend. And the other one is Eddie Deerfield, who was a member of our congregation for many years. And when I came in tonight, Lynn Rosenthal, who was a good friend of Eddie's and very devoted to him, asked me to say a few words about Eddie because there wasn't a memorial service in the community. And Eddie was an officer in the military. And he was also a member of the Foreign Service for many years. He was posted in dangerous places around the world. I remember his wife, Mary Lee of blessed memory, told me stories of how they feared for their lives when they were in the midst of revolutions in third world countries. And as representatives of the American government, their homes and apartments were being attacked. And Eddie exhibited great courage, great commitment to our country, and at the same time, he was one of the most gentle human beings whom I have ever met. He had a unique combination of qualities of character that I will never forget and that I admired so very much. Strong, courageous, brilliant. I mean, he rose to the position of lieutenant colonel in the military, I believe. Lieutenant colonel, you're right, yes, Sid. And one has to be brilliant to rise to that position. and strong and courageous, but so gentle and sweet and kind and loving. And he was also a very generous benefactor of this congregation, and we do things today that we couldn't have done without his generosity. He will be missed. All of these people whose names we read tonight, and all of our other loved ones who have died, have entered into the peace of life eternal. They still live on earth in the acts of goodness they performed and in the hearts of those who cherish their memories. We thank God for them, for the blessings they created, the ways in which they touched our lives, as we join together in reciting the Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. With me, please. Yes, Nicole. Oh, yes, thank you. I just saw that on the news tonight, and I'm so sorry I didn't think to include it. Thank you, Nicole. Yes, gave his life in the line of duty. Together. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah B'yomah Divarach Yerutei V'yamlich Malchutei B'chayei Uvyomei Chon Uvchayei Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agolah Uvizman Koriv V'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevorach La'olam U'le'omei Olmaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha brihu le'elah min kol birchota v'shirota tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiron ba'oma v'imru amen Yehei Shaloma Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imaru Amen Osei Shalom Bimramav Hu Ya'asei Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. V'imru Amen. Before I call upon Edie Becker, one of our lay leaders, to share some announcements, I just want to take a moment myself to thank Mike and Nicole for doing what they're doing so that people can participate with us who aren't able to come to services. And I want to thank Allison and Joy for not just enhancing our worship, but enabling us to worship. And I know that for Allison, and I assume this is the case for you, Joy, were you together at the library?
Yes. No, not tonight.
Not tonight. Well, for Allison, tonight is what the ancient Talmud refers to as a double header. Allison, on behalf of our congregation, did a concert at 6 p.m. of Jewish High Holy Day music at the Palm Harbor Library in an effort to create interfaith understanding and to nurture the development of a more loving and caring community in northern Pinellas. And for that and for everything else that you do, we're so grateful, and we're grateful to you as well, Joy. And now if Edie would join me on the bima. So good to see you. Terrific. So are you.
Shabbat Shalom. Many thanks to Rabbi Klein, Allison, and Joy for leading such a beautiful service this evening, along with our tech crew, Mike and Nicole Skalka. Services for the Jewish New Year, 5783 on Erev Rosh Hashanah, Sunday, September 25th at 8 p.m. We're using electronic tickets for the high holiday services this year. Please check in with your greeters in the temple lobby. We will also have a list of those with e-tickets. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to attend in person or via live stream. We will have a break the fast hosted by our sisterhood following the Nila concluding service on Yom Kippur. The seating is limited, and as of this evening, we have 110 reservations. We can accept 125. So please, if you were thinking of coming, make a reservation. The limited seating obviously is due to COVID. Jewish Family and Children's Services Fall Food Fund Drive continues through September. Information and links about these events can be found in our weekly happenings email. Our Taslik service and Repair the Sea Beach cleanup will take place on Sunday, October 2nd at 9:30 a.m. We will meet at the temple and then drive to the Dunedin Causeway. Following the service, please join us for an oneg in the social hall. Shabbat Shalom and Lashana Tova.
Rabbi Berger asked me to conclude the service by reading Psalm 27 and then sounding the shofar. I told him I could take care of Psalm 27, but I'm 73 years old. For about 50, maybe 55 of those 73 years, I tried to get a sound out of the shofar and never succeeded, and so I've given up. But the psalm is beautiful and appropriate. God is my light and my refuge secure. Whom shall I fear? God is the stronghold of my life. Of whom should I be afraid? Just one thing I have asked of God, only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, and to gaze in delight at God's temple. And let us all say together, Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. And we have another, Allison.
The Kiddush.
Oh, the Kiddush, I always forget that. Yeah. The last few times.